I've been thinking about this for a few days, and that is, we could be in such a bad state of affairs right now in the world and in the church that God is no longer listening to our prayers. That's a very real possibility. For example, let's take the issue of abortion. We had our Supreme Court in 1973 say that it was okay to kill a baby in the mother's womb. Prior to that, in 1963, in Connecticut versus Griswold, we had the Supreme Court saying it was okay to contracept. Okay, first time in history, our history, that contraception was now legal. If contraception was practiced before, it was in the shadows. Okay, church and state, it was in the shadows. That's how different it is today than what it was just 100 years ago. We've come so far away from the standards that we used to live by that it's shocking, it's frightening, it's uncanny, it's monstrous, it's devilish. Anything you can, any adjective you want to put on there, it's just unbelievable. But not only did they allow abortion, now we have, of course, what we expected, what was predicted. And that is, even if the baby's born, they're trying to give excuses now to kill it. And you know what the major leaders of abortion say? They say, yeah, we know it's a baby. We know it's human. But we have to kill it anyway in order to liberate women. And this is where, logically speaking, any abortionist who's thinking this thing out logically should come. He should come to that point where, he stops all the play acting and says, well, that's not a baby. It just looks like a hunk of flesh. No. I mean, we have video cameras that are so intrusive now, they can show you that it looks like a human within 20 days. So that excuse has gone by the wayside. And so they're faced with this reality that they are actually killing a human being. And there's no escape from that now. Okay, so what do? They double down. They double down. And they say, yeah, it is human. I'm going to kill it anyway, because I have a greater goal in mind. That's my liberation as a woman. Have you ever heard of anything so insidious, so devilish? I mean, that's how far we've come. So, what's my point? We've had abortion, 1973, 1983, 1993, 2003, 2013, and we'll have it in 2023, in 2033. And now we've had 50 million in the United States killed, and we're going to have another 50 million killed in the next 20 years or so. Okay? And the only reason the population of the United States has not gone below the birth rate or the death rate is because we have immigrants coming in. And though they say there's only 10 million, there's actually 30 million immigrants in the United States. Okay, so the figure they're giving you in the news is wrong. And that's how we're replacing the deaths of United States citizens by immigrants. And that's true happening in Europe too. Okay, so this whole abortion thing is catching up with them. At any rate, my point is this. We have been praying and praying and praying and holding marches and holding marches and holding signs and praying and having marches and holding signs for how many years now? Okay? Almost 50 years. It's a long time. It's a long time. And do we see any progress in the abating of abortion? Not really. When you're talking about killing the baby from an abortion that went awry and happened to be born, and you're now giving yourself the right to kill it because you intended on giving an abortion. And I hate to laugh about this, but I'm just laughing at their illogic, because people don't think logically anymore. They've won the game between what is real and what you label something. And whoever wins that game is going to win the society. What's real? Baby's real. The mother's real. Birth is real. But as long as you can label it something else and get a lot of people behind you to agree because they have the same agenda, it's going to go their way. And that's what we have today. We have labeling. We don't call it what it is anymore. You know, we don't even call males anymore. They're just, you know, whatever neutral gender the society can think of. Okay. And females are not females. They're whatever transgender term they want to put on it. See, so that's the game of labels. Whatever we can name something, then it becomes that. Okay. This is an issue that goes way back in society. You know, and it goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. I mean, what did the devil do to Eve? He put a different label on it. No, it's not that way. Here it is. Here's the correct label for what God actually did to you, Eve. Okay? And she believed that label. All right? Now, label, of course, is a lie. Just another word for a lie. But in society, modern society, you don't use the word lie. Okay? Nobody uses that word anymore. You do everything to escape naming it a lie. All right? You just use names that sound so sophisticated. Transgender. Oh, that sounds sophisticated. Yeah. That sounds educated. Yeah, right out from Harvard and Yale and Princeton and Brown and all those other. Well, that's where those words come from. They come from educated people. Okay? And we're all deceived by that. All these educated labels that they put on things. All right? You know how that game is played in the abortion industry. They don't want to be called abortionists. They want to be called, what is the term that they use? They like the best. There's a dozen of them out there. Okay, they don't want to be called baby killers. You just put a different label on it and make it sound like it's acceptable. Okay. Anyway, so let me go back to my point. So we've had this for 50 years, and we don't see any reversal at all. Every time it comes up, like there was a movie that came out, 3 months ago on something, forget, I saw it, good movie. There was a little surge in the public opinion, for pro-life, and then it died down. And it was overwhelmed by the abortion proponents, who basically shot it to hell. And so we saw the little spike just overwhelmed. So the reality is that, they're killing live babies now. That's the reality of where this abortion has gone. All this terminology about we want abortion to be safe and legal and very rare, the Democrats were telling us way back in the 90s. And now it's become such an issue that It's a political football, and it's being used to suppress the truth. And it's not rare. It is all over the world. That's the next point I wanted to make. This is not just the United. I mean, I'm talking about the United States because we live here. But what I'm saying applies to every country in the world except for about 2 or 3. And you can count them on your hand who have not legalized abortion. Okay, so this is worldwide. How many countries are there? 192? And there's 3 of them, 4 of them possibly, who haven't legalized abortion. All right, so this is worldwide. And I'm just using abortion as an example. You know, whether it's being queer or adultery, divorce and adultery, you know, go down the list of sins. Abortion and homosexuality just happen to be 2 of the top. And they're the most heinous. Okay? That a society could ever come to that point. I don't know if you've ever read Andrew Toynbee's 19 volumes. I haven't read them, but I know what he says in them. And that is, there were 19 civilizations that he studied. I forget how far back he went in time. I think it was BC. And he said every civilization at their end allowed homosexuality and abortion. Okay? Like clockwork. And that's where we are today. The reason we are not seeing God answer the prayer is because God's decided not to answer the prayer. And what are the implications of that? And this is biblical. Okay? When Israel was in the height of its apostasy, God says to Jeremiah, don't bother praying for these people because I will not listen. Okay? That comes from Jeremiah 7:16, if you want to look that up. Okay. So there comes a point in the degradation of the society and the apostasy of the religious in that society where God's decided to let it ride out instead of doing anything about it. You know, abortion could be stopped overnight, but it isn't. That's the reality we have to face. And we interpret the signs as God gives them to us. Though we can't be positively certain, we can use our logic and our reason to arrive at the fact, well, maybe God isn't answering the prayer because he's decided not to answer it. That the society is so bad that he's going to let it go on in its evil, and then he's going to come in judgment. Okay? It was the same way in Noah's day. All those people that Noah was preaching to, that's why he's called the preacher of righteousness in 2 Peter chapter 3. What was he doing as the preacher of righteousness? He was preaching to those people for 120 years to repent of their sins. Otherwise, they would be judged in the flood and eternally damned. That's what he was telling them, because he was building the ark for 120 years. And not one of those people repented of their sin.